With the release of Lightyear, we now have 4 Toy Story movies and 1 spin-off, so let's rank them. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the movie ranker, and today I'm going to be ranking all 5 Toy Story movies from worst to best. This is a franchise I've been watching my whole life. Being born in 91, I was at the perfect age when the first movie released, and I've been going through this franchise as I've been growing up, kind of just like Andy. So this was a whole lot of fun to go back and revisit these movies and check out the newer ones as well. So without wasting any more time, guys, let's rank them. So coming in the last place at number 5, we got the brand new movie Lightyear. This is a spin-off to the Toy Story movies, supposed to be the movie that Andy fell in love with and the reason why he wanted to buy get a Buzz Lightyear toy in the first place for his birthday. But I'm just not buying it. I can't see this be the movie that all the kids fell in love with. And if that was the case, you think that Buzz would have had his pet cat and all these other things as accessories? You think Andy would have had those? And even watching the original Toy Story, watching when you see all the commercials in that where they're selling the Buzz Lightyears, it doesn't seem anything like this film. So to me, it just doesn't add up. But getting into the positives, I think that Chris Hemsworth does a decent job with the voice of Lightyear. He's no Tim Allen, but it doesn't really bother me that they switched out the voices in this one because it feels like a completely different character anyway. And I feel like they handled the sci-fi elements pretty good in this film because obviously him being an astronaut and that, I felt like they dealt with those elements pretty well. Aside from that, I basically don't like anything else in this movie. I feel like all the characters are lame, and even Lightyear himself is not a cool character or anything. He makes a lot of poor decisions. His cat, Socks, I feel like he's the best character in this movie, which is sad. His robot cat steals the show. It feels more like they were focusing on being diverse and politically correct instead of actually just writing a good script. Like, I don't mind being diverse and all those different things in the movies, but work on your story for starters and then work on all the extra stuff. I mean, all I really wanted was a Lightyear movie with Zurg as our main villain and them to kind of battle it out like the Toy Story movies suggested. But that doesn't really happen here. They kind of tease it for a while, and then there's like a whole twist and a reveal in the final act that just didn't work for me at all. I've seen it a million times in these sci-fi type movies, and this one just doesn't do it very well in my opinion. And in the end, this movie's mediocre at best, but it makes for a pretty lousy Toy Story spin-off if you ask me. Up next at number 4, we got the movie Toy Story 4. Now, just a disclaimer, these next 4 movies are way better than my number 5. Leaps and bounds better in my opinion. So these aren't bad movies at all. We're already in the great movie category. And Toy Story 4, I think, has amazing characters. They do a really good job at introducing people like Duke Kaboom, played by Keanu Reeves or voiced by him. And you even get like his mannerisms in there and that. I think he's great as a Canadian stuntman who always falls. Key and Peele playing like the bunny and the ducky. I think they're hilarious in here. I love their scenes where they're like imagining how they're going to get the keys. They just keep trying to take out the old lady at the antique store. I think that's a whole lot of fun and it's funny. And who knew Bo Peep was such a survivalist, you know, with her skunk car and everything. And of course, our main new character, Forky, the Spork, which is really odd. Who thought we would fall in love with a character like that? But he is hilarious and a great addition to the franchise. The story in this one I feel is a bit lacking. It takes a while to get going and it doesn't really go a whole lot anywhere. Feels like it's mostly about Woody trying to get Forky back from the antique store. It's not real exciting, but luckily, like I said, we got some great characters. We got some great jokes surrounding it. The emotional scenes fall flat for me a little bit, especially with our villain, Gabby Gabby. She's an okay villain. I like how her motive trying to get Woody's voice box so that she could be loved by a kid. But yeah, I just don't feel emotionally attached to her, and it's like whatever when she feels sad. Like, it just didn't really work for me, her character. But I will say that the finale, the final act with Woody, how he stays behind, that hits you a little bit. You're like, shit, now this is the end of the Woody era. Does get a little emotional near the end. So all in all, I think we got great characters. It's really funny and entertaining, but the story's lacking a little bit, and that's why this one goes down a little lower in my ranking. Next up at number 3, we got Toy Story 2, the first sequel. Right off the bat, I just want to say I fell in love with this video game growing up on PS1. I played it all the time. I flipped it I don't know how many times from start to finish. I just love playing that game. You're basically Lightyear going through all the stages of the movie, and it's a whole lot of fun. And I do like how this movie opens with Rex playing a video game of Lightyear, and it looks so badass, that game he's playing. It's a really epic intro in this franchise, one of the better intros, I'd say. We get some great new characters in here again, like Jesse, Bullseye, Stinky Pete, of course Mrs. Potato Head, the dog, all that stuff. Great additions there as well. I love how we get a whole backstory and kind of origin story for Woody here. We find out where he came from and how he was popular back in the day, much like how Lightyear's popular in modern times. And I like the themes in that it deals with, like abandonment and dealing with like your real family and the choices you have to make. I thought that was real clever. I feel like the villains here are the only kind of weak part in the film. We got the collector, played by the guy who voices Newman there on Seinfeld. He's just okay. Stinky Pete is just kind of an okay villain. I do like Zurg at the end. He's kind of a villain for a little bit in this. That's a whole lot of fun. I wish we would get an actual movie where Zurg is our main villain, but we only get that a bit in here. But all in all, a very fun, enjoyable watch. The whole scenes where they're in the store, the toy store, is a lot of fun when they meet the Barbies and all that. So it's an easy watch, just not my favorite in the franchise. So coming in the second place, we got Toy Story 3. This was a big surprise when it was released because I didn't expect this one to capture the magic and just the quality of the first two films, but it did, and I think it even surpassed the second film, obviously, if you're seeing this ranking. It starts off with a great opener with this Western setting there with the toys, and it's really cool. We get to see a lot less of the toys because Andy is going to college, so there's not very many toys left. And they're starting to deal with abandonment and thinking about their future, like what's next for them. Are they going to end up in the dump, in the attic? I think those are all interesting things to think about within the story. How I was kind of growing up like Andy. At this time, I had already graduated from high school. I was out of high school for 1 year when this released. So I was around the same age as Andy. So this was really cool seeing the evolution of the character and how the toys are dealing with that. And they end up in daycare in this one, and it's almost like a too good to be true scenario. At first they think it's the best thing ever, but then they end up getting tortured by these really young kids, like just beating them all over the place and destroying them basically. And the other side of the daycare is where the toys are being treated a lot nicer, the older kids. So they're trying to form a plan to make it over there and eventually just form a plan to escape the whole building itself. While all this is going on, Woody gets a new owner called Bonnie, and he starts to fall in love with her because he realizes this is just like Andy when he was a kid. He realizes like maybe they just have to move on to new kids, and it's been a while since he felt that type of love. And even though we lost a lot of toys throughout the first two movies making it to this one, there's not a whole lot of them left. I feel like we add in some new ones here at the daycare, which makes up for it. We got Ken, which is a whole lot of fun because he deals with Barbie in this, and they kind of have their back and forth, and I think it's hilarious. Of course, we got our the bear, our villain in this. He is a really interesting character as well. He had a bad experience with owner before, so he kind of becomes the villain, turning on all the people and treating the other toys like minions. There's a lot of funny scenes, like Mr. Potato Head having to become like a tortilla. I think that's funny during the whole escape scene. Like I said, all the Ken stuff's funny. Spanish Buzz Lightyear, that's hilarious too when they switch his settings and he becomes Spanish. It's funny because in part two they switch his settings so that he becomes like reset and he's back to like the Lightyear thinks he's actual a space ranger, right? But in this one, when he becomes Spanish, it's funny and he kind of falls in love with Jessie. And yeah, it's just so much fun. Aside from that ending, the ending is just so damn dark. Like, I was certain the first time I watched this that all the toys were going to burn up and melt, and that was going to be the end of Toy Story. And that would have been a dark ass ending for Pixar. And I don't know, I would have probably enjoyed it either way. I probably would have enjoyed how messed up and bold of a choice they would have went with if they would have stuck with that ending, but they didn't. Of course, they end up getting saved by the claw, which is goes back to the very first movie where the little green aliens are pointing at the claw saying it's our savior. So I like how they tied that all back in, and just this is just such a well-made movie, and I feel like it wrapped up the trilogy so nicely. We didn't even need that fourth movie. This one kind of ended the whole Andy chapter, right? And this is a great conclusion to the trilogy. But easily coming in the first place is the original Toy Story from 1995. Like I said, I have a lot of nostalgia for this. I grew up with this film. When it released, I was 4 or 5, so I was at the perfect age for this movie. And fun fact, this is the first fully CGI, full-length animated film. This is the first one. We had shorts before in that, but this is the first one that took a feature length and made it all completely computer generated. So that is friggin' milestone in its own. I know Reboot, the Canadian TV show, is the first animated TV series fully CGI, but this Pixar had the very first full-length movie. And I thought that's just really a real cool fact about this movie. And it's really the whole package. It has everything. It has a little bit of adventure, comedy, action, even a little bit of horror in there once we get to Sid's house, and like that little like baby toy with the spikes in his head, and like all really creepy toys. That whole ending when they trick Sid and they're all coming, the toys are coming out of the ground and Woody's head starts spinning like The Exorcist. That's another cool little horror reference in there. And me being a big horror fan, I love those little inserts. And yeah, the ending is just so emotional once we get to the truck, trying to get to the truck. And it just hits on all cylinders. It makes me laugh, it makes me cry. And I've seen this movie a million times and it just never fails. Hey guys, it's Future Nick here, and I just realized when I was editing this video that it didn't even mention its banging soundtrack by Randy Newman. Like, it's one of the biggest amazing things about this flick. Obviously, You Got a Friend in Me is one of the greatest songs of all time that's from film. Of course, we also get like Strange Things Happening to Me, and just the whole soundtrack is amazing. Randy Newman really outdid himself. It's like the Phil Collins for Tarzan. Randy Newman has Toy Story, and I just wanted to add this in the video before I forget because it's a real important aspect to this film. And another quick thing, I just wanted to say that the original Toy Story, especially me seeing it at such a young age, every kid kind of thinks, what are my toys doing when I'm gone? Are they moving? Like, I thought that, and this movie really made me think that after seeing it. So I just wanted to add these few things in here. We get phenomenal casting. Of course, we get Tom Hanks casted as Woody, Tim Allen as Lightyear, and perfect voice casting. We didn't know it at the time, but nowadays we're like, hell, I couldn't think of anybody better to play those two characters. And even like Don Rickles and the voice of T-Rex and everybody, it just works so well. And who would have thought, you know? It's like going back to Aladdin and like the parrot being Gilbert Godfrey. Like, who thought that was a good idea? But at the time it was probably like, what? But nowadays you're like, it's genius. There's a lot to unpack in the story. I mean, the toys dealing with a new house. They're about to move, losing a toy, trying to do a rescue mission. Lightyear being the new kid on the block and Woody being jealous, you know, and it kind of relates to kids, you know, when a new kid starts hanging out with this group and they get all the attention, it could make some of the other ones jealous. It's just, there's just so much to unpack here. There's a lot of adult themes and jokes spread out through here. Like, not in a way that would be bad for kids, but just a lot of stuff probably goes over a kid's head. but there's stuff in there for the parents as well. I mean, we even get identity crisis in this film with Buzz once he finally realizes that he's a toy and not a space ranger. He like goes completely in depression mode, and yeah, he ends up in rough shape. But then he realizes at the end that his real mission is to serve Andy and make sure he's the happiest kid possible. And yeah, this movie is the full package, guys. It has great themes. It's highly entertaining, very funny, very quotable. It's a blast to watch, from the bedroom to Pizza Planet to Sid's house to the moving truck. It's just so damn fun. And I can't say fun enough because I have a blast every single time I watch this. It got great themes. It's got everything. And that's why it easily comes in the first place for me. My favorite animated movie of all time, guys. So there you have it. There's my ranking of all 5 Toy Story movies, or 4 Toy Story movies and 1 spin-off. I want to know what you think of these movies, how you would rank them. Let me know down in the comment section and we'll have a great discussion. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching.